Good morning, students. And I'm Dr. Deepa Srivastav, Assistant Professor, Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management. Welcome you to Understanding of Balance Sheet, which is a part of managing financial operations. The objectives of this session will be: we will recap the meaning and understanding of the balance sheet, which we have already seen in the previous session. We will describe the various formats and the structure of balance sheet. And we will also classify the different assets, liability and capital that appear in balance sheet. Let us understand once again what is a balance sheet. Balance sheet is one of the financial statement which shows the financial relationship between various parties. That is, the relationship between the shareholders, the loan providers, the creditors, the assets. It also depicts the financial position or the health of the business. That is, we can comment on the solvency position of your business. It shows the balances of assets and liabilities on a particular date. That is, at the end of the accounting period. It shows the balance of various assets and liabilities which are there with the business. And very important, balance sheet is based on the accounting equation. That is, the assets has always to be equal to the capital and liabilities. Now, as we have understand what is a balance sheet, let us see what makes a balance sheet. Balance sheet can be seen into three different parts. It has various assets, that is something which is owned by the business, liabilities which the business owes to others, and the capital. Now we will see how these assets, liability and the equity, that is the part of share capital or equity capital, can be divided. First, what is an asset? Asset is something which is owned by the business, that is, business has a right on it. Secondly, it has economic or financial resources. It is an economic and financial resources, that is, these are the resources or the possessions of the business which they use for the operations of the business. These are the assets or the items which are used by the business for the production, for the business activities. These are there for a longer period of time. Then assets. What are assets? Assets are always equal to equity plus liabilities, and because these are assets, these are being used by the business for a very longer period of time. These are the investment for a very longer period of time. So they are subject to depreciation. Depreciation means the decrease in the value of assets. So whenever there is a decrease in the value of assets, we used to charge depreciation in the balance sheet. So this is what is an asset. Then what is a liability? Just reverse of your assets. This is something what business owes to other. That is, it is a liability. Business has to pay this to other people outside the organization. These are not the resources, these are the obligations. These are something which the business has to pay to the other people. And then what is a liability? Liability is assets minus equity. The difference between your assets and your equity becomes your liability. Because these are the liabilities, there cannot be any kind of a depreciation on your liability. Now, the third most important component of your balance sheet, that is equity. What is an equity? Now, this equity is the fund which is provided by the owners of the business. They can be the shareholders or the people who are having some kind of an ownership in your business. So that is the money which is being provided by the owners. These owners, they reflect the own equity, reflect the ownership right or the claim of the owners on the business. And if we want to find out what is the value of equity, then the equation will be equity is equals to assets minus liability. And equity does not or is not subject to any kind of a depreciation. So these are the three important components. Now, how to present it? When we are preparing a balance sheet, we have to show these three components. So how we are going to present it? So we have two formats which we use to prepare the balance sheet. The first format is called as account format. It is just like a T. We call it as a T. Why? Because it represents a kind of an account. On one side of the account, we show the assets of the business. So the assets are shown generally on the left hand side. And on the other side, we show the liabilities and the owner's equity. That is, same, we are reflecting the accounting equation that assets are equal to liability plus equity. So on one side, we show the assets, and on the other side, that is the right hand side, we show the liability and the owner's equity. Same. If the assets and the liabilities are presented correctly, then it will fulfill the accounting equation. That is, the total of your asset side should be equal to the total of your liability side, that is liability plus equity. Now let us see one example. This is an example of a presentation of a balance sheet of a company in a account format. So one side we have the asset side, and on the other side we are showing the liabilities. So we are showing on the asset side the fixed assets, and then we show the current assets. Then total of your fixed plus current assets should be equal to the total of the shareholders fund, that is the equity, plus all your long-term and short-term liabilities. So this is just an example of when we present the assets and liabilities in a account form. Now, the second is we can also present the balance sheet in a report format. Generally, whenever the companies are making these balance sheets, as per the Companies Act, they prepare it in a report format. Now, they are prepared vertically. That is, first part shows the assets of the company, and then it is followed by the liability and the equity. But the basics remains the same. That is, the first part, that is the asset, the total of the asset should always be equal to the total of your liabilities and equity, and it should remain equal, because whatever is the format we are going to follow, we are not going to change the accounting equation. That is, the asset should be equal to liabilities plus equity. Now let us see an example of a format of a report format of balance sheet. So this is how we have presented it. The first part will show you the liabilities, which is having the shareholders fund. The same balance sheet which we have seen in the account form, it can be presented in a report format also. So the first part, it shows your assets, and the second part shows your liability. So the total of your liability should be equal to total of your assets. These are the two formats. Now, as we were looking into the formats of the balance sheet, we have seen that when we are presenting the assets or liabilities, we are differentiating between the assets and the liabilities. We are showing it as a fixed assets or the current assets. We are showing it as a tangible or intangible assets. Then we are dividing again the liabilities as long-term liabilities or short-term liabilities or current liability. So what are these different types of assets and liabilities? What is the difference between that? And what are the peculiar characteristics of that? So let us see for it. First is your fixed assets. So what makes assets as a fixed assets? Fixed assets are the assets which are tangible. That is, you can recognize them. They have physical existence, or the dimensions are there. You can see them. So they are tangible. Then, because they are a fixed asset, that means they are held by the business for a very longer period of time, generally for more than one accounting year, or we can say for more than one operating cycle. These are the assets which are held for a longer period of time, and they are going to help the business in their business activities or commercial activities or operations for a longer period of time as compared to one accounting period. Because they are held for a very longer period of time, then that is why they are subject to depreciation, because the value of these assets will definitely decrease when you are continuously using it for a particular time period. So the Companies Act allows for the depreciation also. They say that whatever fixed assets you are using, so you are, or the business can charge depreciation on that. So fixed assets are shown as a block of assets, and that is a gross block. That is the gross value of the assets. And from this gross value of the assets, the depreciation is being allowed. Now, how you charge depreciation, what method of depreciation you are charging, it totally depends on the company. But generally, we have two different methods. That is the fixed installment method and diminishing balance method. So it depends on the company. But fixed assets are subject to depreciation. With the time, their value decrease, and this decrease is allowed in the balance sheet. So the depreciation is deducted from the asset, and the remaining value, that is the net value of the assets at the end of the year, is shown in the balance sheet. Then it is always shown at the original cost. The original cost of the asset which you have purchased, the time when you purchase the asset, the price which you have paid, that will be shown in your balance sheet. Then we are going to allow for depreciation. So we do not consider the market price or the current price of the fixed assets. No, they are shown at their original cost. So these are the fixed assets. Some examples of your fixed assets can be the land, it could be a building, it could be plant, it could be machinery, it could be furniture. But land, we don't charge depreciation. Land is not subject to depreciation. But other than that, all the fixed assets, the depreciation can be charged. So this is the first category. Now, there is a second category of assets which can be called as current assets. Now, how they are different from your fixed assets? Current assets, yes, they are again tangible assets. They have the dimensions, you can see them. Then they are held for a shorter period of time, but as compared to the fixed assets, the current assets, the time for which you are going to have these assets in your business is for a very shorter period of time. Now, what is that shorter period of time? So we can say accounting period. All those assets are current assets which can be converted into cash within one accounting year. But generally, this accounting period is the operating cycle. So all the assets which can be converted into cash within one operating cycle, we call them as current assets. So examples of it is cash. Cash is always in a cash form, so no conversion is required. Then the stock, your inventories, your debtors, your bank balance, these are all the examples of your current assets. So the time period of converting these assets into cash again is normally less than one accounting period or one operating cycle. These current assets, we don't charge depreciation. No depreciation is charged because they are realized within one accounting period or within one operating cycle, and they are always shown at their current cost, that is the current value. So this is the different classification of your assets. Then we can have one more classification. We can have assets in the name of investments. Now, what are these investments? These investments are basically the investments made by the company in the form of some shares or debentures or bond or the government security. So the company make investment in such kind of assets. These are tangible. Then they are held for a longer period of time. They are a kind of securities. The company, they held it for a longer period of time. So these are not short-term securities. These are the long-term investments made by the business. No depreciation is charged on the investments, and they are always shown at the actual cost or the market value or any of these, whichever is less, but all depends on the policy adopted by the company. So whatever is the policy of the company regarding the investment, that is the value at which the investments are shown in the balance sheet. So these are the investments. So now let us see the next part or the next classification of assets. Now that are called as intangible assets. Now what are that intangible assets? These are the assets which are intangible. That is, there is no physical dimension. You can only feel these kinds of assets, or you can only feel that yes, these assets exist, but actually physical dimension is not there. Let us talk about goodwill of a firm. We can feel, yes, goodwill is there. The image of the company is very important. You have certain patent rights, copyrights, trademarks. These are the example of intangible assets. These are the assets which are held by the company, but they don't have any physical dimension. But these are the assets which shows the ability to earn extra profit by the firm. So these assets will help the business to earn more profit. That is the normal, more than the normal profit. The extra profit is being earned by having these intangible assets, and they have a long-term value for the firm. So goodwill, a long-term value. Then patents, they are held for a longer period of time. Copyrights held for a longer period of time. So these are also the assets for the company. Now one more category is there, that is a fictitious assets. Fictitious, that is fake. The name itself says fake. It is just for a namesake. Then they are intangible. They don't have any physical dimensions, but they represent expenses or losses for the firm. Now, take it an example that company issues the shares, and at the time of issue of the shares, some discount is allowed to the shareholders. Now, this discount is a kind of loss, but you cannot show it. It is just a loss, and you can always show, you can charge this from your profit. So they represent the expense or losses. Then not real. They are not real. Company has given the discount, and because of that discount, the shares have been sold. But it is not real. The benefit of it is derived for a longer period of time. But the benefit can be derived for a longer period of time because we have sold the shares at a discount. It will be held by the company for a very longer period of time. So these are the fictitious assets. Now let us see the classification of liabilities. As we have divided the assets into fixed and current assets, similarly, we can also divide the liability into fixed liabilities and the current liabilities. Fixed means they are the long-term obligations of the firm. That is, when a company is obliged, company owes this money to other people for a longer period of time. These liabilities may be secured or unsecured. So the company may have taken these liabilities or loan from a bank by giving a mortgage, or it could be in a form of unsecured ones also. So they can be secured or unsecured. And these liabilities are used by the firms to determine their long-term efficiency. So this is the money, this is the liability which is being put into the business to increase the efficiency of the firm, because it is a commitment for a longer period of time. So it is there for the efficiency. When it becomes due after more than 1 year, because it is a long-term liability, so you are not supposed, the company is not supposed to repay or return this money to the people in a very short period of time. No, these are the obligations which will be paid in a very longer period of time. So some examples are bonds payable, loans payable, bank loans. So these are some of the examples of your fixed liabilities. Then the current liabilities. These are the short-term obligations. That is, the liabilities, the returns, the obligations which the company has to fulfill in a very short period of time. That is one accounting year, or you can say within one operating cycle. How to pay these current liabilities? So these current liabilities are generally or are being repaid by the firm from the current assets. So we study the relationship between the current assets and current liabilities, and the current assets are used, the money realized from the current assets or current assets are used to repay the current liability. They are due within one accounting period, and it determines the liquidity also. That is what I said. That is, it studies it depends on current assets. So current assets are used to pay the liability. So that determines the liquidity, that how well or how much of liabilities are there which can be repaid by your current assets. So some examples of your current liabilities can be your creditors, your short-term loans, your bank overdraft. Now let us see how we can classify the equity also. Equity is the money which belongs to the shareholders or to the owners. Now how? There can be a classification of that. Equity can be divided as a share capital and reserves and surpluses, because if we look at the accounting equation which we have already seen in your profit and loss statements, we see that equity is what? Equity is also a mixture, or it also includes your reserves and surpluses. So equity, share capital and reserves and surpluses. Now share capital. How the organization or a firm can have a share capital. So the share capital can be in two parts. It could be in the form of equity share capital, or it could be in the name of preference share capital. Now what is equity share capital? Equity, the word itself says ownership equity and equal rights. So actually these equity shareholders are the real owners of the business. Why? Because they are at a higher risk. If the business is going to earn profit, too much of profit, surplus of profit, these shareholders are going to enjoy. But if the business suffers losses, these are the people, the owners, the shareholders who are going to suffer for the losses. So they are first in risk. But when it comes to profit, they are the last one to enjoy the profit, because after paying to everyone, whatever is left, it is given to them. So if surplus of profit is there, they will enjoy. If losses are there, they have to bear the losses. So equity shareholders are basically the real owners of the business who take the highest risk and they enjoy the profits also. But we have one more category of shares, that is called as preference shares. Now this preference shares are a kind of shares which get a little bit of preference in comparison to the equity shareholders. What kind of a preference? The preference for getting the dividend. So if the company has issued preference shares, these shareholders will get the preference to receive the dividend in comparison to the equity shareholders. First, they will receive the dividend and then the equity shareholders will receive the dividend. One more privilege they will enjoy. They have a fixed rate of dividend also. So whenever the company issues the preference shares, they also declare the rate of dividend for them. It could be 5% preference shares, 6% preference shares. So the rate of dividend is already been decided. So they get the preference in receiving the dividends. But one more preference is there. If the company went into liquidation or the company is being winded up, then they will get the preference in getting back their money as compared to the equity shareholders. So they are preferential shares. Now, can we have a category for these preference shares also? Yes. These preference shares can be cumulative or non-cumulative. Cumulative and non-cumulative. If in a particular year the company is not going to earn or company has not earned the profits, definitely, because these are the shareholders. So if the company does not earn profit, they will not receive any kind of a dividend. But if they are cumulative preference shares, so these cumulative preference shares have a right that this dividend which is not paid in a particular year can be carried to the next year, and when the company earns profit, they have a right to receive this dividend, the earlier year's dividend which was not paid to them. So they have a right. So such kind of preference shares are called as cumulative when they have the right to receive the unpaid dividends of previous years. But if the preference shares are non-cumulative preference shares, in that case they do not have a right to receive the dividends, unpaid dividends of the previous year. So this can be the one category. Another can be redeemable or irredeemable. Redeemable preference shares are those where the company take backs the preference shares or pay backs the preference shares or buy backs the preference shares from the shareholder. That is, after a particular period of time, the company, they pay back the shareholders for the money which they have invested in the name of preference shares. But if they are irredeemable preference shares, so during the lifetime of the business, these shares cannot be paid back by the company. You will remain the preference shareholder of a company for the whole life of the company. So these are the two categories. Now, let us go to the another category, that is the reserves and surpluses. Now, these reserves and surpluses are basically being created by the company out of certain profits. Now, what are those profits? So, depending on that, we have classified these reserves and surpluses into two categories. One is a revenue reserve and another is a capital reserve. Now, revenue reserve is a result of the profits which are being saved by the company after meeting all the expenses, after paying the taxes. Then whatever is the money left as a net profit, as a retained earning, so the company is going to create certain reserves from that money. So that kind of reserves can be the revenue reserves. Company can create a general reserve, that is generally they have kept aside a sum of money from the profits which are being left, which can be utilized by the company for any particular purpose, any kind of a contingency which comes in front of the company. Then they can have a investment allowance reserve also, that is also a category for your revenue reserve. Then second category, capital reserve. The name itself says it is the outcome of something which is not of revenue nature. That is, maybe the company has sold some assets and received some profit on that. Company has issued the shares on premium, and the extra money which they have received from their shareholders in the name of premium, that is a money. So this is the money which is there with the company, which is not a part of its normal operations. It is something which is of capital nature, non-repetitive nature. So whatever money they have received in the name of capital nature reserves, they will keep aside in a separate account to revaluation reserve. This is a result of the revaluation of your assets. So if you revalue the assets, you get some appreciation in the value of the assets, so you create a revaluation reserve. Then the share premium account. Now these are the money which cannot be used by the company until and unless specifically the permission being taken. So they are for a specific purpose. So share premium account cannot be used to pay the dividend to the shareholders. No. So you have to keep aside this money in the name of capital reserve only. So this is a classification of your equities. Now, if we look into the share capital, or if we look into the balance sheet of a company, in the heading of share capital, we can get different kinds of name. That is, share capital can be as an authorized share capital, then we can find one more name, that is issued capital, then subscribed capital, and then paid up capital. Now, what are these capitals? These are the different names of the capitals depending on what type of the capital it is. Authorized capital. Now when the company registers itself, at that time in their memorandum of association, they specify the amount which they can get from the market or from the public in the form of shares. So that is the authorized capital. That is the capital which the company can raise through the shares. Now this is the maximum amount which they can raise through the shares. So when the company is deciding about these authorized capital, at that time they have to think about from the long-term perspective also. Not deciding what we will require in the form of share capital in the near future. No, we have to take it from the long-term perspective, that in a long duration, what could be the capital requirement of the company. So accordingly, this capital should be fixed and the company should mention this capital in their memorandum of association. Because later if you want to increase it, then again you will have to apply for getting the increase in your authorized capital. So this is the capital, the maximum capital which the company can issue from the shares. Then we have the issued capital. Now the company has authorized with a capital, but initially when you are starting a business, at that particular time it is not required that whole of the authorized capital should be issued in the market. So a part of the authorized capital, if it is issued in the market, so that particular part which has been issued, which is actually been given or tried to be given to the public in the form of share, is called as issued capital. So it is the total number of shares which are issued by the company. So it is not required that whole of the authorized capital should be issued. The company, depending on its requirement, initially can come for a part of authorized capital to be issued. So that part of the authorized capital which has been issued by the company is called as issued capital. Now the company has issued a capital, but how much has been subscribed, how much has been purchased by the public, that becomes the subscribed capital. So the total number of shares which are being issued by the company, then out of it, how much has been subscribed, taken by the various shareholders, is your subscribed capital. So issued capital can be equal to your subscribed capital, but your subscribed capital cannot be more than your issued capital. So subscribed can be equal to your issued, or it can be less than your issued, but it cannot be more than your issued capital. So whatever you have issued, only that can be subscribed. So subscribed capital cannot be more than your issued capital. Now the company has issued the capital and it has been subscribed. But it may be possible that initially the company does not want the whole money on those shares from the shareholder. So only that part of the subscribed capital which is asked by the company to be paid by the shareholders, that becomes the paid up capital. So if I take an example, 10 lakh shares were there, company issued only 7 lakh out of it, and only 5 lakh of shares were subscribed by the company. But out of those 5 lakh subscribed, only the money on, or only 50% of the money on those shares were asked by the people or paid by the people, it will become the paid up capital. So this is how we show the various share capitals of the company, and depends, the company can have all of these variations or it can have one or two variations. It depends what type of shares have been issued, subscribed and paid up by the company and the shareholders. Now let us sum up what we have seen in these particular session. We have seen again the concept that yes, whatever may be your format of balance sheet, howsoever you are presenting the balance sheet, this equation is not going to change. That is, your assets will always be equal to your liability plus equity. We can classify the assets into different categories as per their nature. So they can be like fixed capital, they can be like fixed assets, current assets, it can be tangible assets, intangible assets, or it can be fictitious assets also. Similarly, the liabilities can also be classified depending on their nature. And then the share capital can be further classified into various heads depending what type of capital has been issued by the company. So I hope that this particular session will be informative for you and you would understand the balance sheet in a better form. Thank you.